Jacqueline Jossa denies more fan speculation that she's pregnant after wearing sickness bands. Former EastEnders actress and reigning queen of the "I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here" jungle Jacqueline Jossa has denied speculation that she is pregnant, again. During a recent Instagram story, Jacqueline filmed herself chatting about some gifts she'd been sent in the post, but eagle-eyed viewers were quick to point out that she appeared to be wearing anti-sickness bands on her wrist, which are often used to help combat morning sickness. But Jacqueline has denied that she and her husband Dan Osborne might be expecting their third child, saying it isn't possible that she's pregnant. "These are morning sickness nausea bands for seasickness. Basically for the last 4 days, I've been feeling really car sick. I think I've got vertigo, the thing that makes you feel really dizzy and have really quite bad headaches and feel travel sick. So I went to the chemist and bought these, just in my head thinking it would fix me." Responding to the fan speculation, she was quick to state, "I'm not pregnant. I'm not pregnant, guys. It's not possible, okay?" Jacqueline has had to deny pregnancy rumors before, after she captioned a photo of herself on Instagram with the words, "No, not pregnant, just bloated." The actress ruled out having any more children in the near future last year, saying, "I can't think of anything worse right now than being pregnant." Jacqueline and Dan have 2 daughters together, 4-year-old Ella and 2-year-old Mia, while Dan also has a son, Teddy, with a former partner. The couple recently had to deny another rumor that they'd been arguing at the actress's launch of her clothing collection Within the Style, with Dan saying, "We didn't have one disagreement at all," and Jacqueline adding, "We didn't argue. We were literally kissing and cuddling the whole night." Moscow threatens prison for those who fail to self-isolate after visiting coronavirus hotspots. Moscow has threatened to imprison people for up to 5 years who do not quarantine themselves for at least 2 weeks after traveling back from countries hardest hit by the coronavirus. The city government announced its high alert regime on Thursday and implemented extra regulations in an effort to combat the spread of the disease in the Russian capital, according to Reuters. Moscow said people traveling from China, France, Germany, Iran, Italy, South Korea, Spain, and other countries with unfavorable signs of the illness must quarantine themselves. Russian authorities will monitor compliance with the new law through a system of closed-circuit cameras. The Moscow City Hall added in a fact sheet that people may break quarantine under certain circumstances, such as to walk a dog, but only when there are minimal others out, and those leaving quarantine must wear a face mask. Russia has reported 15 cases of the coronavirus, a virus that broke out in the Chinese city of Wuhan in December. China is currently the worst-hit country with over 80,000 cases, while South Korea clocks in with over 7,000. The United States currently has 213 confirmed cases, according to the World Health Organization. Italy's government on Sunday shut down the country's northern region, restricting the movement of nearly a quarter of Italian citizens. The nation took the extraordinary step to contain the disease after reporting more than 5,800 cases, including 233 fatalities. Road commuters wasted average of 115 hours stuck in traffic in 2019. UK road commuters lost an average of 115 hours stuck in traffic last year, according to new research. This cost the country £6.9 billion and a typical driver £894. Traffic analyst Inrix said. London was found to be the most congested city, with 149 hours lost per driver during peak periods in 2019. It was ranked 8th in the world for traffic jams. Belfast was the UK's second worst city for hold-ups at 112 hours per driver, followed by Bristol, 103 hours, Edinburgh, 98 hours, and Manchester, 92 hours. Trevor Reed, transportation analyst at Inrix, told the PA news agency that London suffers from having very little road space and a whole lot of demand. He said, "You have very severe congestion and a massive, relatively high-earning population. UK cities are quite a bit older and a lot denser than American cities. London is over 2,000 years old. When you develop around walking, and horse and buggy, and everything but cars, the urban environment does not handle cars all that well." Cardiff saw the biggest year-on-year growth in congestion, up 5% to 87 hours. Mr. Reed said, "You can reach a tipping point with a city. You add just enough cars to make nothing work. Sometimes you add 1 or 2% more cars, and it causes a viscous cycle of congestion to set in. Nottingham's congestion decreased by 17% to 78 hours, which was the biggest drop in the UK top 10. The A404-501 from Edgware Road to Old Street in London is the UK's most congested corridor, with commuters losing 44 hours last year. Outside the capital, the A38 in Birmingham caused the biggest delays at 32 hours. London and Edinburgh tie for the title of the UK's slowest city, with the average speed of the final mile of a journey just 10 miles per hour. A Department for Transport spokeswoman said, "This government is determined to improve journeys for all motorists, which is why we're investing nearly £29 billion to reduce congestion on our roads up to 2025. Looking to the future, our £2.5 billion Transforming Cities Fund will help develop innovative public transport projects, while the tripling of our investment per head in cycling and walking since 2010 is encouraging people to try other ways of getting around, helping create less congested towns and cities." Shale in crisis as oil prices collapse. The OPEC meeting broke up without a deal on Friday, sending oil prices into a free fall. Brent was down by about 9% during midday trading, rapidly heading to the low $40s. Oil prices could test the 2016 lows before all is said and done. Russia has resisted cutting production deeper. On Thursday, on the eve of the final day of talks, OPEC more or less issued an ultimatum. They proposed 1.5 million barrels per day, MBD, of additional production cuts, and suggested that OPEC would not cut alone without Russia's participation. There will be no deal without Russia, Iran's oil minister said. Moscow called their bluff. On Friday, everyone walked away and there was no deal. As of midday on Friday, WTI plunged to $42 and Brent fell to $46, down 9%, the lowest level in nearly 3 years. The entire OPEC arrangement is now in doubt. Even worse for oil prices, the existing production cuts, agreed to only a few months ago, expires at the end of the month. As it stands, members of the OPEC coalition could conceivably raise output beginning in April, exacerbating the global glut. But Russia's resistance rested on some reasonable logic. Global demand is contracting by the largest amount in history, a worse demand shock than what occurred even during the global financial crisis. It's not clear that this can be fixed by supply cuts. The Russian argument seems to be, a demand-side problem has to be met with a demand-side response via lower prices. Or, put another way, let the market sort it all out. As a result, oil prices nosedived on Friday. It may not be the end of the story. OPEC members said that consultations will continue, but negotiators need time to cool down, according to Iran's oil minister. There are echoes of the 2014 OPEC meeting, when then Saudi oil minister Ali al-Naimi preferred to let the market fix the growing supply-demand imbalance. That led to a steep drop in oil prices, a downturn that did not turn a corner until 18 months later. The plunge in prices ground U.S. shale supply growth to a halt. This time could be much worse. Not only is the oil market facing a disaster, but this time it's a demand-led crisis. The global economy is facing real questions about a recession, and the coronavirus continues to spread. The airline industry, for instance, could lose more than $100 billion. The worst may yet lie ahead. In that sense, the analog could be more 2008 than 2016. It is the most severe decline since Q4 2008, the height of the 2008 to 2009 global economic crisis, which saw demand tumble by 2.8 million BD year-on-year. And Louise Hittel, Vice President, Macro Oils, at Wood Mackenzie, said in a statement. The consultancy sees demand contracting by 2.7 MBD in the first quarter. If the impact the coronavirus has had on global oil demand is sustained, then by the second half of the year we'd expect to see weaker GDP. This will have a far greater impact on oil demand than just temporary reductions in jet fuel and gasoline demand. For US shale, a disaster lies ahead. The industry has been largely unprofitable to date, but had received several rounds of huge injections of capital in the last decade, most recently following the 2016 downturn. But by last year, investors had begun to sour on unprofitable shale drilling. Energy stocks collapsed and access to capital became increasingly scarce. That was all true before the coronavirus and before the failed OPEC meeting. Now, US shale will likely find itself in a state of true crisis. Unlike a few years ago, recapitalization in any meaningful way is off the table. Capital markets have turned off the spigot. Also, the twice-a-year credit redetermination period is getting underway, and the most recent slide in prices will likely mean an immediate cut to credit lines from lenders. Worse, the wave of debt taken out during the 2014 to 2016 downturn is about to come due. North American oil and gas companies have more than $200 billion in debt maturing over the next 4 years, with $40 billion due this year. Austria avalanche, 6 die in 2 separate incidents. Avalanches have killed 6 people in Austria in 2 separate incidents, police say. At least 5 people were swept away on Sunday morning by a large avalanche on a mountain in Upper Austria. The victims were part of a group walking in snowshoes on the Dachstein range. Local police said 5 bodies were recovered from the avalanche, which began 2,800 meters, 9,200 feet, up. The victims were thought to be from the Czech Republic, police added. Although they did not think there were other victims, mountain rescue workers were searching the site, team leader Christoph Priemesberger told the Austrian press agency. Also on Sunday, a 33-year-old police officer died in an avalanche in the southern Carinthia region on the Großglockner Peak. Local police said he died while taking part in a training exercise. In January 2019, about 60 residents in the town of Ramsor am Dachstein, which also lies in the Dachstein range, escaped another large avalanche which caused significant damage but no casualties. Also in January 2019, a 16-year-old Australian boy was killed in an avalanche while skiing at St. Anton Mulberg. Scott's granddad found on floor of Bangkok apartment 8 days after suffering stroke. A Scots granddad lived off a diet of just tap water for 8 days as he lay on the floor after suffering a stroke inside his Thailand holiday apartment. Bill Fairbairn had left his home in Dunbar on January 16 to explore Thailand by himself for around 2 months. Disaster struck for the 64-year-old after he took unwell suddenly inside his apartment just over a month into his trip. His family back home grew extremely concerned for his well-being as they were unable to get in contact with him. Bill's daughter Fiona sparked a frantic online search for her missing dad. He usually texts my auntie and his sister every day, but we knew there was something up when he suddenly stopped texting them on February 22, she told the Record. We sent him loads of emails and WhatsApp messages but nothing was going through or being delivered. You try not to think the worst with these things, but we definitely knew there was something wrong. Bangkok is like the size of London as well, so it makes it near enough impossible to track him down. All you can do is hope that something leads you to his whereabouts. Fiona was finally able to get in touch with someone inside the Thai capital who was able to recognize Bill after seeing him inside a pub he would usually drink at. After working alongside the person on social media, they were able to track down the manager of the apartment complex he was staying at. She sounded very distressed when she heard that I was trying to find Bill, Fiona said. The manager of the complex was able to batter Bill's door down where she found him surrounded by water pouring out of a sink inside. It is believed that a pipe from the sink had been pulled from the wall as Bill tried desperately to stay alive during the 8 days that followed his stroke. A number of other items were found strewn inside as he tried to get the attention of staff for help. Further problems emerged when Bill was raced to hospital. The ambulance would not take him before £500 was paid. In the hospital they charge anything from £1,000 to £5,000 a day, added Fiona. The mum of one tried to phone his travel insurance provider to see if they would help with the costs of his care. However, it was revealed that his policy would only work for trips under 31 days. Bill had been staying in Thailand for 37. I got in touch with the British consulate, but they told me that we would have to set up a crowdfunder or take out a loan, said Fiona. The crowdfunder was the only option for us, as no one in this day and age would give you a personal loan of tens of thousands of quid that easily. Bill is now on the mend and said to have made an unbelievable recovery as he remains in a private hospital in Bangkok. But now his family are trying to raise enough money to bring Bill back home to Scotland for NHS care. The costs of any repatriation flight is said to cost around £29,000 as he would have to be escorted by 2 nurses on board. Fiona wrote on the GoFundMe page, "I have nowhere else to turn now as he needs to be home in Scotland recover than a non-English speaking Bangkok hospital.